Hey everyone, and welcome to a really special explainer today. We're diving into something completely fascinating, brought to you by Dr. Christophe Delong and connects to formation. We're not just going to sit back and look at an art form, we're actually going to dissect it, literally looking at the anatomy of flamenco. We're talking about that incredible intersection where raw, historical emotion crashes right into high-performance biomechanics and neuroscience. It's going to be a wild ride.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap. We'll start with the soul of flamenco, move into the three pillars, look at the duality of movement, break down the biomechanics of ballet, do a deep clinical and neurological analysis, and finally wrap up with bodily catharsis.
Part 1. The Soul of Flamenco, Origins and Identity.
So before we can understand the mechanics, we really have to understand the heart of it all. Flamenco is, fundamentally, a survival language. It was born right here in the Andalusian caves, the historic cradle of a deeply marginalized but incredibly resilient culture. It's this complex, gorgeous melting pot. You've got Roma traditions of oral transmission and tragic expression, totally intertwined with Arab Andalusian microintervals, Jewish Sephardic lamentations, and popular Christian ballads. This fusion is so unique, so culturally vital that back in 2010, UNESCO actually officially recognized it as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. How amazing is that?
Moving on to Part 2, the three pillars, flamenco expression. To really grasp the expression here, we have to look at a flamenco performance not as some isolated solo act, but as a living, breathing ecosystem resting on three totally inseparable pillars. First up, the cante, or singing. That's the raw emotional core. Joy, pain, sorrow, you name it. Second is the baile, the dance itself, which gives us that physical expression. And third, the toque, the guitar playing that lays down the rhythmic foundation. And here's the absolutely crucial thing to understand. The dance is never isolated. It's in this continuous, dynamic dialogue. The dancer is literally listening for the exact end of a musical phrase to strike, while the guitar is right there following the rhythm laid down by the dancer's feet.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the musical framework organizes everything. These categories are known as palos, and get this, there are over 50 of them. They range from the cante jondo, these are the deep, grave, tragic styles like the solea, all the way to the cante chico, like the alegría, which are festive, light, and super fast. Every single palo dictates a totally specific emotional and physical response from the dancer. It basically sets the emotional weight for the entire performance.
But hey, technique alone? That just isn't enough. You can have the most perfect rhythm in the world, but without el duende, it's honestly just rhythmic gymnastics. El duende is this completely unquantifiable state of grace. It's an emotional trance where the artist just abandons pure technique and goes for absolute, visceral authenticity. Physiologically speaking, what's actually happening is a massive hyperactivation of the brain's limbic system. It's a moment of profound, pure fusion between motor skills and emotion.
Part 3. The duality of movement, anchoring, and elevation.
Now, the sheer grace of flamenco comes from the visual clash of two fiercely antagonistic forces. Historically, this duality was actually split by gender. You had the baile de hombre, the masculine dance, which was all about the earth. We're talking a super low center of gravity, strict verticality, a very sober, still torso, and just brutal, authoritative foot percussion. On the flip side, the baile de mujer, the feminine dance, focused on the air. Think fluid, spiral torso twists, enhanced hip movement, and those sweeping, graceful arm movements they call braceo. But what's really fascinating is how contemporary flamenco is beautifully blurring these mechanical boundaries. Today, female dancers are executing explosive, high-speed footwork, and male dancers are bringing this incredible fluidity into their upper bodies. It's a total evolution.
Okay, we've seen the history and we've seen the art, but now it's time to shift gears. For our Connexa Formation viewers, we really have to ask the ultimate clinical question. What is actually happening right beneath the skin to make this intense physical expression possible?
Part 4. The Biomechanics of Ballet, the Internal Engine.
Welcome to the physiological reality of the dance. To produce this kind of power, the dancer's body has to undergo an extreme form of segmental dissociation. Basically, they have to split their body in two. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that the secret to their posture is a strict mechanical necessity. The erector spinae muscles and the multifidus in the back are locked in this constant isometric extension. This creates a highly stabilized axial structure, essentially a pressurized cylinder, which absolutely prevents any kinetic energy from being lost or dissipated when those feet strike the floor. And here is the missing piece of that puzzle, the core. The raw acoustic power of flamenco footwork doesn't just come from having strong legs, it actually comes from intense abdominal compression. The transversus abdominis and oblique muscles contract isometrically to create a solid block between the thorax and the pelvis. Essentially, this turns the dancer's body into an acoustic anvil. Without this intense stabilization, the shock waves would just harmlessly dissipate into soft tissue, instead of creating that sharp, percussive sound we all recognize.
To maximize that acoustic impulse, dancers use some highly specialized tools, specifically rigid flamenco shoes fitted with special nails right in the toe and heel. The dancer's ankle functions like a high-precision spring, keeping a slight dorsiflexion to keep the myotatic reflex totally primed. So every single strike is perfectly calculated to send a mechanical shock wave directly into the floor.
And guys, the physical demand of this is just staggering. During the zapateado, those crazy rapid footwork sequences, a dancer can actually reach speeds exceeding 8 to 10 strikes per second. Think about that, generating 10 distinct, rhythmically perfect acoustic impacts every single second. That requires an almost superhuman level of extreme agonist-antagonist muscle coordination in the lower legs. It's wild.
Yet, while the lower body is just firing away at 10 impacts a second, the upper body is doing something entirely different. The kinematics of the floreo, those beautiful circular hand movements, is this complex, almost fractal-like mechanical chain involving the wrists and fingers. It requires sequential flexion of the fingers using the lumbrical muscles, all while demanding incredible neuromotor precision to actively inhibit the extensor muscles. It's this perfect balance, the brutal percussive power of the lower body offset by fluid, localized elegance up top.
Moving to Part 5, Clinical and Neurological Analysis.
So how in the world does the central nervous system handle this immense, conflicting biomechanical load? Well, the crucial point is this. The dancer is not just reacting to a beat. Neurologically speaking, the flamenco dancer processes rhythm as a direct extension of their own motor activity. There is intense connectivity between the motor cortex and the auditory cortex. They are locked in a continuous millisecond-fast feedback loop, striking the floor, processing the acoustic feedback, and instantly micro-adjusting their muscle force. They don't follow the music, they literally generate it.
Of course, this extreme athletic output comes with some serious clinical realities. From a rigorous sports medicine perspective, those repeated high-frequency impacts lead to significant microtraumas. We're talking Achilles tendinopathies, plantar fasciitis, and even lumbar discopathies from the shock waves traveling right up the spine. The intense wrist flexions of the floreo can induce carpal tunnel syndrome, and rapid spins, they demand intense vestibular spotting. However, the human body adapts remarkably. Thanks to Wolff's law, the principle that bones grow stronger under continuous mechanical stress, this constant impact actually leads to a functional hypertrophy, significantly increasing the bone mineral density in the dancer's lower limbs.
Finally, Part 6, Bodily Catharsis, Physiological Resolution.
Let's move to our final phase and see how this all builds into a true physiological arc. A dance begins with the marquage, which uses aerobic effort and sympathetic nervous system activation. It then intensifies into the escobilla, transitioning to an anaerobic load where blood lactate spikes. Next comes the subida, this extreme acceleration causing a massive, highly controlled flood of endorphins and dopamine. And finally, it culminates in the silence, a sudden, dramatic drop into parasympathetic activation, resulting in an immediate drop in blood pressure and profound muscle relaxation.
This is exactly why the sudden stops in flamenco are so incredibly breathtaking. As this quote beautifully captures, the silence is where the real magic happens. That complete motor stillness, coming right after extreme kinetic chaos, signifies the absolute domination of the mind over matter. It resolves all the tension in the room, and for the performer, it acts as a highly controlled neurohormonal catharsis. It's the moment where the dancer simply is instead of doing.
Which leaves us with a truly provocative thought. Is flamenco the ultimate intersection of profound cultural expression and high-performance biomechanics? I'll leave that one for you to ponder. I want to extend a massive thank you to Dr. Christophe Delong and Kinexa Formation for providing the absolutely incredible insights for today's explainer. Thank you so much for joining me to look beneath the skin of this magnificent art form. Keep exploring, and I'll see you next time.